Good morning. And again, we are so grateful to be here with you on this beautiful, kind of maybe sort of perhaps, spring day. Spring keeps coming. Come here, come here, come here. Get away, get away. It'll eventually take hold. My wife says so, and she knows her stuff. So, to begin our devotional service here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Niagara, if you'll bear with me, we're going to talk about faith cannot save from the book of James, chapter 2. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith but do not have works? Can faith save you? If a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace, keep warm, and eat your fill," and yet do not supply them with their bodily needs, what is the good of that? So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. Show me your faith apart from your works, and I, by my works, will show you my faith. If you'll turn on the inside cover of your bulletin, there you will find our chalice lighting. And if you'll please repeat these words with me. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. Oh, what is our hymn, Tim?
I think I might have forgot to hit send when I sent Erica the hymn numbers.
That's okay.
327, Joy Thou Goddess.
327, if you please. The first two verses. Thank you. We now come to our responsive reading. If you'll turn in your hymnal, excuse me, to 639. And if you will follow me in tandem, if you please. Let us love one another, because love is from God. No one has ever seen God. If we love one another, God lives in us. There is no fear in love, for perfect love casts out fear. No one has ever seen God. If we love one another, God lives in us. And that's from the book of John. We now come to that portion of the service where we are going to honor our joys and our sorrows. I don't call this a sorrow. I call it my deepest concern. My deepest concern is for Mother Earth and all her inhabitants, all of her offspring, if you will. It is a concern born out of experience, a concern out of the study of history, and hoping that as her offspring, we would choose not to repeat our history, but to look in the sacred scriptures of the world, to look at the great examples that have come before us and exist amongst us to this day, that we should truly love ourselves and then love our neighbors as ourselves. For if we cannot do this, we shall not survive, and perhaps we deserve not to survive. And I'm also going to light a small candle here of what I would call joy. As you can see, I am no longer wearing my brace, and, so now when my wife, tries to clock me with a left, I can block, and with no pain or no difficulty. And I'm grateful because that's the first question I asked the emergency folks. I said, will my boyish good looks come back to me? And they said, we guarantee it. And as you can see, they were right. So, no, I'm grateful I'm not looking worse than I feel. So thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to come up for joys and sorrows, if you will?
This is an update from last week where I told you about I was receiving a sauna blanket, and I got to use it 3 times this week after exercise. And it's like heavy. It's pretty much like a heavy sweat blanket. So you lay a towel down, you get in your bathing suit or brown underwear and lay in there for like a half an hour, and sweat a lot. So it didn't make my muscles feel better at the moment. But I don't know how it'll work. I should have invested a couple $100 more and got a portable jacuzzi. My parents got a portable jacuzzi that they bought from Sam's Club that they blow up with water. Blow up with air, and it's like a jacuzzi. It goes 350 degrees or whatever. It's like a jacuzzi, cheaper, So I should have got that to help my muscles more, but that's all right. The sweat blanket is good for now. And also this morning, I wake up and I'm laying in bed. I'm like, oh, Emerson comes in. Why do you go downstairs? Oh, I'm so hungry. I don't know why. I feel so hungry today. He's like, oh, okay. Then he ran back downstairs and he came up with pancakes that he made himself. He even dyed them he put blue and green mixed together to make teal my favorite color. And they were nice and fluffy. And I ate the 2 so quickly that he went down and made some more. And they were not as good as the first ones, but they were still good. But I know he told me he did this because he didn't want me to make my usual. I usually make a veggie omelet in the morning and slather it with guacamole, and he hates guacamole. So like, he didn't want me to have guacamole, but he made me breakfast in bed, and it was really sweet.
Cute. Love it. Love it.
And I was really proud that he like did it all himself, cooked them, and did everything himself. Because I think my husband was outside already.
Good morning. Ron, I'm sure I speak for everyone here when I say how happy we are that you're no longer experiencing any pain in your hand and your wrist. I know it was very difficult for you when it first occurred, because you shared that experience with us about exactly how it happened. So we're so glad that time has healed this wound.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and good morning, everyone. I just wanted to let you know how thankful I am that this 2-year journey that Eric and I have been on is coming to a happy conclusion. I was in Toronto last weekend, and I took some boxes. You know, I flattened them, all the boxes I got from Amazon that I thought would help in the move, and I flattened them out, and I took some packing tape, and we filled every box. And I brought it home with me a few days ago, and it's really a good sign that the time has come. And by the end of the month, Eric and all of our belongings that are currently in his apartment in Toronto will be here in the United States of America. And I'm so very thankful for that in our great country, that he is now going to be welcomed into it, where we can share many years together. So God bless the USA. That's all I can say in that regard. It worked out, and I'm very, very thankful for that. And as time goes on, during these next few days, next few months, I know I would appreciate your prayers and your wishes that things are going to go well for us, especially during this time, because I'm thinking about the move, and we all know what that's like. So thank you very much for being so supportive of me, and so supportive of Eric, and so supportive of the relationship that the two of us share. You've all been great, and I'm so glad to be a part of this congregation. Thank you.
Now it's on? Okay. On Friday, we went to East Aurora to get tattoos. Me and my twin sister, just to mark the celebration from East Aurora to Niagara Falls. We call Niagara Falls home now, so we wanted to make sure we have that embedded in our body. So I was very happy to do that, and I got to see my dad. We slept over at my dad's on Friday night, and then on Saturday he made us breakfast. So it was nice just having him, seeing him in person. You know, we do FaceTime almost every day or every other day, but I just like the physical. So it was just fun having him around and hang out with him. And another joy is this school year is slowly winding down. Hallelujah. But I really, it's my first year, okay? And it's been the most stressful first year, okay? The first year, I've been told, tend to be the worst year in your career. And it's been pretty bad. But there's also been some pretty good things too. It's just been very up and down, all over. But I am thankful for my students. A lot of the parents will miss me having their kids in my class. Some of and they recently complimented me. One parent said his son talks a lot more at home. He used more words, and because before that he wasn't really talking, and so she said I've made a big difference in her son's life, and that she appreciated all my communication with her, because previously when they were at a different center, she received no communication from the teacher or anything. So she's just really thankful that I involved her in the classroom and make sure she was aware of what's going on in my classroom. So, but no, I am very thankful though. The school year is winding down. I'm ready to take a break. Although I'm not really taking a break. I am doing summer school, but I'm ready to just take a deep breath and get ready for the second year. I have a feeling it's gonna be much better, just because I've learned a lot of lessons from my first year. And I'm ready to take it on. I'm ready to take my second year on, and let's hope for the best.
Amen.
Okay. I guess I have mostly joys and one concern. I'm grateful to have a great friend in my twin sister and my friend Jill. I met my friend Jill through People Inc. when we both worked for them. So that was probably the best thing that came out of that job. And yeah, so I'm very grateful because I'm not a social bird. So it's not like I'm going out all the time. So very grateful for when we do go out with our friend Jill. And I guess another joy is the year is almost ending. Although before the year is ending, this is my concern. I guess before the year ends, I'm still dealing with things that cause me significant anxiety. Like my sister, I like to communicate with the parents also. So I hate meetings. So a parent went a meeting, and she didn't really tell me why, even though we communicate. And so Tuesday, I can't wait for Tuesday to come so the meeting can be over with. But apparently, per my principal, they just want to talk about the communication. My students are difficult, and I'd say both positive and negative when I contact parents, so I don't know. So that's stressing me out. But when the school year goes over, I'll be happy, especially since I started in January. So it's still challenging to reach the kids when I'm the third teacher. So fingers crossed, being there from the beginning will help things go better next school year.
Thank you.
I want to light a candle for actually Justin Dietchen, because he has he and Peter have bought a home in Florida, and that's where Peter is going to be from now on. And Peter's struggles are over. I've known Peter since, well, since Drew Kennedy period, and that goes back 30, 40, at least 40 years. And it was heartbreaking for me to see Peter struggling now. And there are many people sitting right here that were also very supportive of Peter and did their best to be helpful as he found life becoming more difficult these last few years. And so I certainly light also a candle for Peter and for everything he contributed to the church, and for Justin, and for Susan, because she particularly went out of her way, despite her very busy life this last year, to support Peter and bring him to church. And many of us noted her kindness, but I didn't express it directly to you, Susan. And you really went above and beyond. And it's just the way our church is and the way the people are in our church. So thank you.
I'm cutting into your time, Ron. It'll be okay. Nobody. I know that's right. My name's Meg. Joys and sorrows. Sorrows. It's kind of a tough place to be in the world right now. If you're like Middle Eastern descent and have family, blood. It's like blood for oil all over again, and it's been tough. But on the bright side, though, I've been getting out to theater in Buffalo and the surrounding area, and it's been really fun. It just enriches so much, and people are so talented here. I went to see Penelope at Cavanoki, which is on Deauville campus, and it was about the story of Penelope and Odysseus, and she was left, and all these marauders came and bothered her, and it was one woman show, and she was amazing. She had a backup band, and they were amazing too, but just wonderful. And also to the Irish Classical Theatre, which it was a Scottish tale, so it had its drama. Let's just put it that way, and lots of alcohol. Anyways, it was really nice because I got to go with my mother too. So enjoy it out there. If you got a food stamp card, you can get art access pass. That's how I go. You don't have to have a dime in your pocket. You get that thing. You give back if you can, but you can get 2 tickets to all these venues, and it's wonderful. There's a lot out there to, culturally. Up here too, I was checking out Keenan Center, right? Isn't that an art gallery? Yeah, I really want to check that out too. Thank you. But Team Shrine, there's so much. Niagara Falls. Testing.
I hope it's all right to light a second candle for Peter. Thank you for that wonderful explanation, Kathy. But I've been feeling so much the joy that we all can feel now to know that he is safe and cared for. And for me personally, it lifts a great sorrow that I wasn't able to do something better for him when he was here. So just another joy for Peter's being safe.
Okay. I would just like to chime in for half a moment. I've known Peter and his wife, my gosh, now it's been at least 4 years. And between him and his late wife, it was extraordinary what the love, the commitment, and the care that they put into the church as an institution, but the church as its people. And that's something that will live with us forever and a day, and we'll never forget. And the greatest compliment or gratitude we can have for both of them, of course, is to continue that good work for the benefit of others in the future. Okay. We now come to that portion of our service referred to as the offering, reminding you that it is through your generosity, and more often than not, only your generosity, that it makes this ministry possible. And so we ask our ushers to arise and go forth amongst you. Next Sunday, there will be many, many, many people in our great nation who will gather, and they will celebrate. And they will celebrate mothers, or at the very least as well, individuals who have the maternal instinct. And many times, believe it or not, there are as many men as perhaps you see women who are also maternal, and whether they're working with children or raising children, or whether they're being maternal in the most nuanced way, in the most general way of nurture, care, they will be, pardon me, will be acknowledged. And they'll be excuse me. And I just did such a nice job on that hymn. Anyway, frog in the throat, you'll pardon me a moment. Pardon me. However, in the contemplation of this great day coming, as it comes year in and year out, like many holidays, like many seasons, we have certain traditions, certain rituals. Kids, if you have them, they make mom, or who's functioning as mom, pancake breakfasts, or they make them mud pies, personal family favorite of mine. There is cards are sent and received across the miles. People give flowers, perhaps boxes of, just like Valentine's Day, it's a heartfelt holiday, candy, and perhaps all manner and means to express gratitude, the gratitude that is shared for the most important woman, usually, in our lives. And you know, when I was coming up to contemplate what I wanted to share, because I don't want, oh, bless you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I didn't want to, I'll be very honest with you, I'm not certain who's preaching next Sunday, but I didn't want to, as they say, steal anyone's thunder, because generally speaking, because next Sunday actually falls on the date in question, I didn't want to be redundant and for lack of a better phrase, undo some of their good work. So I gave some consideration as to what I wanted to focus on relative to next week, a little bit. And the reason I kind of, it hit me was I have a tendency, I watch a lot of, you can ask my wife, she hates it, but I love it. I watch a lot of documentaries, right? Yeah, and I learn a lot, and I learn history. I'm an amateur historian, heavy emphasis on the amateur. And it occurred to me in watching some things in the past few weeks that what I want to talk about is women in general and the impact women have and the future impact women may have on not just the culture in America, important as that may be, but world culture. And the reason I say that is I became aware that even in our great nation, today, even as I speak these words, women still make less money for the same work that men do in 2026. Maybe I'm ignorant, and many times I am, but I thought we'd crossed that bridge and won that battle quite a long time ago. And the other thing that occurred to me was in a dialogue about justice, that the author of a book I was reading said, and he made this extremely valid point. You've heard the phrase, without justice, there can be no peace. Okay? Another word for justice, a synonym, if you will, is equity, equality. And I've noticed in the study of some history and in the study of contemporary circumstances that women, as a rule, are still very much feeling and living as second-class citizens, not only in America, but of course throughout the world. There was a study done by a group of hospice volunteers and workers, and that they said that out of like 300,000 people that they had, I don't want to use the word interviewed, but that they had been aware of their circumstances prior to their physical death, the one word and the one person they sought out just before they actually died was mama. Was mama. And the speculation, of course, was they did some brain science and they said, well, the last thing that dies in your brain is that center where that nurturing, hits and all this other stuff. And maybe I'm just a sentimental old fool, but I believe it's because we come hardwired, so to speak, responding to that nurture, looking for that care. And it is not an accident, it is not a coincidence that many times, as a result of the male domination, the abuse, the torture, and other things that come along with being born in that gender, female, that it comes to my mind that ultimately, until we do break through those barriers and achieve that equity, that equality, and recognize that that is probably one of the most important, if not the most important, aspects of the ancient biblical adage, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, then we will not achieve universal justice, and thereby extraction will not achieve universal peace. Very serious things. Women through history in some cultures have been leaders, in some cultures have been, I want to use the word king, it's not king, queens, empresses. In other words, the feminine principle has been somehow inherently acknowledged and therefore externally demonstrated, so that, as they say, women are in charge. Women are in charge. And there have been people who've speculated that when women are in charge, because everybody's looking at their wallet lately, right? And why those moths are flying out of it, that when women are in charge of economies and so forth, generally culture or society does much better than when men do it. Now, some men would disagree with me, and to wit, I say unto them, go ahead and disagree. But I've done my research. So, there are still, well, for example, there are approximately 4 billion women on this planet right now. 4 billion. And of course, that's roughly half the population of the planet. And if you study history, you're going to find that even though there have been pockets in ancient history, that ultimately we have been, for most of humanity's history, male-dominated. And yet when we study the inequities, the inequality, the unfairness, and so forth, it amazes me that we can't say, yeah, we can do better. We must do better. I encourage people, if you're a student of history, to study the history of the Holocaust. Now, I have a bias because my parents and my uncle and a number of other relatives were victims, if you will, of the Holocaust. But I don't speak from that perspective. I speak from the perspective of studying the many women, some Jewish, but the vast majority non-Jewish, who gave up their lives or put their lives in amazing danger, saving those who were earmarked for the final solution. And these are the women who lived with courage, with conviction, and garnered for those people that they saved hope for a future that in many instances did come. And as a result of coming, they were full of the joy that someone cared enough to put themselves, obviously, on the line for them. Now, there are things, for example, as I pointed out, Mother's Day. Well, in 1914, President Woodrow Wilson, he didn't decide, I forgot the lady's name, you'll have to forgive me, but there was a woman who pushed and shouted and did everything she possibly could, and finally convinced him to declare a Mother's Day. A Mother's Day. And as I said earlier, yep, all the thank yous and so forth are constricted into one day, and then we go back to business as usual, which again we see didn't prove itself out very nicely back then and continues not to prove out very nicely in this day and age. We look at, believe it or not, things like the ancient practice of mutilation, where for cultural or societal reasons, and this happens in Africa, the Middle East, and other places, women are mutilated, and thank goodness that that's beginning to be eradicated. If I said to you rhinoplasty, you'd say, well, that has to do with plastic surgery. Well, yes and no. There was a time in India when, if your wife was particularly disruptive to your mental health, so to speak, you would cut her nose off. Where do you think the old saying comes from? He cut her nose off to spite her face. And they developed a medical procedure so when the wife got back in good graces with the husband, they could manipulate that tissue and form, if you will, a nose, hence the beginning of modern rhinoplasty. People say, people couldn't be that cruel. Make a bet. And then, of course, we move on in our great nation to things like women's rights. You got the right to vote in 1920. Now, in the sphere of things, that's not a long time ago. 1920. People like Susan B. Anthony, who fought long and hard and never lived to see women's suffrage come full circle, okay? And then you had people like Matilda Jocelyn Cage, and then of course you had a beautiful lady of color, Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth. She not only fought for the I won't stop, and you can't make me. Sojourner Truth not only fought for women in general, but for black women specifically. She wrote an amazing speech that I encourage you, if you have a chance to read it. It was powerful and got in all the papers. It's called Ain't I a Woman? Okay. Elizabeth Cady Stanton. A lot of people do not know that Elizabeth Cady Stanton wrote a lot of the speeches and such that Susan B. Anthony put forth. And what she also did was she wrote something called the Women's Bible. And what that Women's Bible was at the time, not completely unlike Thomas Jefferson's Bible, but she took and eliminated a lot of the negativity, but also tried to correct some of the misunderstandings that put women in a very poor light as they were biblically. Cost her an enormous amount of support, because even at the time, as today, some of the women in culture said, why are you messing with the Bible? It's sacred. Men, of course, are more superior to women. And of course, we all hear the stories about the pioneers of not just suffrage, but pioneers in other fields that their fathers said, no, girls shouldn't go to college, girls shouldn't do this, girls shouldn't do that. I have every confidence that there's a good number of you out there of the feminine persuasion whose father said, couldn't you pick something else? That's man's work.
That was my mother.
And there you have it. I knew that. So it cost Elizabeth quite a bit. Now, in the 1890s, it was kind of interesting to me, it always has been. Susan B. Anthony went not too far from here, actually 10 miles from where my wife and I live. She went to Lilydale Assembly. And she went to deal with people who philosophically and theologically supported the notion of equality amongst women way ahead of most anybody and everybody else. And she held a conference there that drew over 3,000 women, what we would now call a convention. And what they did at that convention, and it was plot, plan, and scheme, how they were going to overcome the problems so they could have women's suffrage. Mae West, by the way, just as a side note, also visited Lilydale, because what a lot of people don't know about Mae West was not only was she a very controversial and a very popular actress, but she was a social activist as well. So the courage, the community, and the unwavering belief in equality for all, the seeds have always been there. And where they are watered and nurtured, they burn forth. And yes, even some men, not as many as I'd like to report, but even some men said, you've got to be, crazy not to support this. In the Unitarian Universalist movement, you have Margaret Fuller. In 1845, she wrote Women in the 19th Century, a tremendous indictment. And many of these women, and it's a little known fact, began to not only criticize the political dynamic of the relationship between men and women, but also the religious, how religion kept women under its thumb. And that is the topic of another sermon. Olympia Brown. First Universalist woman to be ordained. And of course, we say this with deep respect, Viola Liuzzo, who in 1965 was murdered by the KKK because of her work with the civil rights movement. Her only crime? She was driving civil rights workers back to their hotel. The KKK intercepted the car, and they murdered the volunteers, the workers, as well as Viola. Now here we are in the land of the free. And what happened? On June 24th, 2022, Roe v. Wade was overturned. Now however you sit on that particular issue, historically, we as a tradition have always been pro-choice. So the choice is between a woman, her highest concept of God or a higher power, but most importantly, her medical doctor. Gone. And getting worse. And yet we do have people in contemporary times. Jackie Kennedy Onassis came into the White House and found the place a shambles. Presidents and their wives were coming in there, stealing antiques. Serious. Oh, that looks good, dear. Well, let's see, I've got 3 days left in my term. Put it in the truck. She went ballistic and established a system where now you see, well, not today necessarily, but previous to couple of years ago, you see that the White House is a repository of tremendous memorabilia and relics of our great nation. And you can thank her for her emphasis on culture and so forth. Eleanor Roosevelt, read her story sometimes. You know, people think, well, you know, these women, many of them just sat there and looked pretty. No, no. They were annoyed at being second-class citizens. They rose up. They talked about children's rights, human rights. By the way, I do believe children are human. That just came out a little wrong. And Eleanor Roosevelt was amazing. In our contemporary times, Gloria Steinem, Malala Yousafzai, again, two contemporary ladies who have fought for the rights of women. Note I didn't say privileges. I said rights, not privileges. And then, of course, Indira Gandhi and Golda Meir. Now, though they were prime ministers of India and Israel, respectively, and were predominantly focused on the political dynamic of keeping their countries out of war or winning war or whatever, they were still breaking the barriers so that eventually, it's in my opinion that instead of doing what unfortunately our nation is doing now, going back to the Stone Age, in my opinion, with women's rights and such, these are people who continue to fight and in that sense suffer, and again, never gave up, never gave in, never surrendered, because when we do it for one of them, we do it for who? We do it for us. We do it for all of us. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, without that universal equity, equality, without that universal justice, there will never, ever, ever be true and lasting peace on this planet. Now, with everything I've shared, it seems like there's a tremendous amount of work to do. Oh, forgive me. Two things very briefly. Beulah Louise Henry, over 100 United States patents, over 100 patents. You know what Beulah's problem was? She was a woman. In the beginning, many of those patents were not recognized. Men who worked with her stole her work and tried to have those patents put in their name. She went to court and spent the equivalent on one patent infringement, I believe, on a bag machine which made paper bags, $100 a day. She spent the equivalent of $40,000, won the case, and broke that stranglehold so women could have those those rights. You couldn't get a credit card till 1976 without your husband or your significant other, or however that worked then. And one of the things that really I'm really interested in was there was a woman, I think she's passed away, Katherine Johnson. She spent 3 decades at NASA. If it weren't for her mechanical ability, forgive me, mathematical ability, John Glenn would have never gone up in space. And all the other space missions thereafter within that 20-year period, because she had that kind of mathematical mind. Do you hear about her? No. No. And so what I'm here to tell you is, like, for example, when the first female Anglican priests were ordained in 1994, which, by the way, has since then split the Anglicans in half, and its first female bishop in 2015, we as Unitarian Universalists must say, hooray, hurrah, and continue in any way we can, wherever we can, to fight for that truth, that justice, which will bring indeed lasting peace. So next week, as you're thinking about your mama, whether she's here or whether you believe she's in the hereafter, thank her for what she did for you, but thank her for what she did for women everywhere, to strive to establish an equity, an equality, a unity, and in so doing, making the world a more verdant and wonderful place to live in, rather than just contemplating pie in the sky. Thank you. Now that my prelude is completed, no. You're not laughing, dear. Before we get to our announcements, if you'll indulge me, I will do our closing words. Infinite presence, infinite peace. We have gathered together as brothers and sisters, united in the oneness. And as we affirmed and as we identified that none of us, not a one, has ever seen God, we know on some level, in some manner of consciousness, we have experienced that divine oneness in one way or another. And when we experience it, we realize that we must release our belief and our demonstration of separateness. We must release that demonstration of the other. And when we speak of our counterpart, the man or the woman, we are speaking of one being. And perhaps that manifestation looks like it's been individualized into unique and separate beings. Ultimately, the way to benefit from that is by the recognition of our eternal, infinite oneness. Help us to be kinder toward ourselves and to each other, so that as we go forth out into the world, we may rise up and demonstrate justice, equality, and in so doing bring peace not only to ourselves, but through the entire universe displayed. And so it is. Amen. We would cordially invite you to stay with us after the service. We've got goodies. I don't know what kind of goodies we got, but that's the element of surprise that should make you very happy. In any event, it's truly been a joy to be with you. It looks like we're coming to the conclusion of another church season. I will be with you the first Sunday of June, and then I'm going to be on hiatus. I'm not leaving the planet, so if people need to call me or talk to me, but I will not technically, if you will, be here until the first Sunday of September, I believe. Is it the first Sunday, or is there? No, October? She'll tell me what I'm doing. She tells me what I'm doing here. She tells me what I'm doing in the car. It's good to be guided. But in any event, I'm going to look forward to being with you next month. And I'm already dreading not being with you through the summer, because it's always a privilege and a pleasure to be with you. Thank you. And as we now prepare for Patty to, forgive me. And I got to extinguish the chalice too. Okay.
I just had two announcements. One is that we are having GED graduation here Thursday, May 14th. If anybody is willing to help out, we usually just need people who are answering questions, people not sure where to go, where to sit, where the bathrooms are. The ceremony starts at 5:30, so if anybody wants to come between 4:30 and 5, just to help answer questions. And then in 2 weeks, we'll be having our annual meeting here directly after service. It's going to be lots of fun.
Okay. If you'll open the inside back cover of your bulletin, there you will find the chalice extinguishing words, and let us mindfully affirm them as we say them now. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Like crown of stars adorns the earth. I'm awake for the first time. It's too late. I'm on the other side. My Genesis, this is where it all begins. The sky breaks, light reaches for me. The future awakes, oh, it's calling. My Genesis, this is where it all